Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time coming. I don't know how many people have been anticipating this review who are familiar with my channel, but if you're not, I'm going to tell you something that probably sounds a little bit ridiculous. If you're looking for a non-biased review of this book, you're probably not going to find it here. This is my favorite book ever. It has been for years. I've listened to it at least 30 times. I can't go 2 or 3 other book reviews without mentioning it at least once. And without this book, without question, I don't even want to think, no pun intended, about what my life would look like. In this review, I'm going to summarize Think and Grow Rich. Obviously, with commentary in between chapters. We'll see what I have to say about the negative reviews of it, which is always really fun. And there's something I haven't said before about this author in any of my other videos. I was saving it for this review, but I'm not going to go over that. I'm just kidding. I'm totally going to go over that too. I'm also going to read you guys some standout quotes, who I recommend this book to, and what books to maybe check out next. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel, and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, and who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Why is it that I want to make self-growth normal, but I haven't reviewed a book of this one's popularity? It has sold over 120 million copies. That's a lot of copies. After about the year and a half I just spent reviewing over 200 different books in self-development, business, and technology. The reason is that I really do have so much to say about this. I don't even think this review touched the surface. And when you check out a book more than once, every time in between listens or reads, your life and the way you look at the world, they're just a little bit different. And there's just something that about like self-development books that are really important to me that just warrants what happens to be my first or last book review of the year. I don't know what it is. Last year I reviewed The Law of Success by the same author. It was my longest review yet. I hope this one is not as long. So something to keep in mind with Think and Grow Rich is that it took 25 years to write. This guy interviewed so many successful people from his time. The most common one he referred to, at least in the very least in the beginning, is Andrew Carnegie, who today would probably be someone like Bill Gates or one of the founders of Google. Andrew Carnegie was a steel industrialist of the 19th century. Late 19th, early 20. I'm surprised the author didn't cover much ground on the oil equivalent, John D. Rockefeller, but I digress. A main idea here is this secret that the author keeps holding high, the Carnegie Secret. How Carnegie was one of the richest, most successful people in history, that the author never interviewed anyone who achieved success of any kind or degree without applying knowingly or unknowingly the Carnegie Secret. I know this is where the modern population of this idea stems from in, according to the spiritual teacher Frederick Dodson, rather low energy book and movie, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. By the way, this whole concept of this secret, let alone the fact that the author stressed in the beginning that this is not just a book for your entertainment, a real student will absorb its contents and make them his or her own. Those are both ingredients in a book that authors can try and fail repeatedly to create some sort of a rehash of. I have never heard anyone ever, for any reason, anywhere, in any context, say in a negative review, this is a straight rip-off of Napoleon Hill. Even my own, but if you've seen my recent Napoleon Hill reviews, the only author I've seen ripping off Napoleon Hill is Napoleon Hill. There are 13 different principles of success, and from here we're going to go through all of them. I just went over the introduction. The first one, desire. It is stressed that everyone who made a ton of money, you know what they did first? They did a lot of hoping, wishing, planning, and desiring. They worked themselves into white heats of desire for money and actually believed that they will possess it. And again, this book took 25 years to write. You know, it was published in what, 1937? So this philosophy came out of the Great Depression. This century, however, there was a Great Recession and a COVID recession. But it is worth taking with a grain of salt the different opportunities he talks about in the chapter about marketing personal services. Jeff Bezos saw the internet and imagined over time a store where you could sell anything at the lowest price with the fastest delivery. Elon Musk saw beautiful gas cars and ugly electric cars, and imagine over time a world of fully autonomous, beautiful electric cars. Pretty soon it's going to be trucks as well. Both of these men imagined and are still imagining the colonization of Mars and the moon. And all of these visions listed are still becoming a reality, but you can definitely see them where you did not before. And yet when you look at these ideas as what started out like nothing more than just ideas, and then you look again at the current reality, it's almost completely unbelievable. The second principle is faith. The things that out of habit you just believe are true, eventually you just begin to accept them as the truth. Everyone does this. It's human nature. Keyword, nature. This is the foundation of when people experience a hardship and then they flatline and stay unhappy and broke for the remainder of their lives. And I think that understanding all of this is something that at no one time will two people do. Ultimately, there are people who will read this book 100 different times before truly understanding what this author is saying and truly understanding what the secret is. Something about the secret, by the way. When you understand what the secret is, you will be glad that no one told you what it is beforehand. What's so powerful is the actual realization of it. It's really hard to explain. I think that's another reason why it took the author a quarter of a century to put this book together. But there's also a little here on Christianity and religion. However, mainly how many people have failed over the years to actually teach the acquisition of faith. Regarding the objection of, well,
this isn't physically here. How do I know it's real?
many Christians will say, they'll say nothing more than, well, you just have to have faith. Okay, I can see how that makes sense, but how do I do that? How do I have faith? If I don't have faith, how am I supposed to get it? To someone who doesn't understand this, it's like telling a blind guy, oh, come on, man, it's a red brick house. It's right over there. You don't see that? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having faith in religion or anything like that. I'm just saying that I wish that people taught how to acquire faith. There is one way to really acquire faith that no one's really talking about. I wish that they talked about it in schools. At least at the time of this book's writing, the main way is considered auto-suggestion. Things like the 6 steps in chapter 2 or the self-confidence formula are examples of auto-suggestion. The self-confidence formula, by the way, I've tried it. I've said it to myself out loud 4 times a day for months, and it's skyrocketed my self-confidence. It works. Auto-suggestion is basically saying something to yourself intentionally over and over again over time, something specific, so you can influence your thoughts and feelings and beliefs. And anyone who thinks that this does not work, they're right. And that's only because they think it doesn't work. I'm gonna say something that I wish everyone knew when it comes to self-development. This stuff only works when you do. Principle 4 is specialized knowledge. This chapter, I love this chapter. You know why? Because it takes a traditional dump on traditional education, okay? A lot of this book, I will say, it's outdated information, but the more you look at other books about like science and technology, the more you'll find out what exact info that is. Most people don't know that the word education has nothing at all to do with school. It derives from the word educo, which means to induce and to draw from within. Sounds kind of woo-woo, right? Maybe you can relate, but in my experience, the best teachers somehow know how to just get students to do this. That's probably a huge reason why they're the best teachers. Something else about the public school system, and it's still like this. It's free. We have invested idiotic sums of money into it, and it's free. And that's a huge reason it doesn't impress people. And why an idiotic sum of people don't get as much out of it as we could. The author does offer solutions in this chapter and other chapters, and he offers a huge set of them in his one book that I reviewed last year, Outwitting the Devil.
It's an amazing book.
I would be very surprised if this is not by my bias speaking, but I can't tell you how much I've learned from these books that I didn't learn from school, in which, by the way, my grades were constantly low. But my Audibleship membership is paid for. I'm not bragging, but I've paid probably thousands of dollars for these books, and I've made 10 times more, probably at least, than what I spent on them using the knowledge I acquired from them. Elon Musk says that he doesn't give a damn about the college degrees of his own employees. As far as I know, most employees don't, unless they're required to by law or something like that. Musk didn't go to Harvard, but a lot of his employees definitely did. Mark Zuckerberg went to Harvard, but he dropped out because whatever he was doing in his dorm was clearly much more important. Maybe someday Facebook will be a competitor of the school. The more I list examples of these guys, honestly, the more I wonder, What if there were like a Think and Grow Rich of the digital age with like way more like updated information on like psychology and business and whatnot? Principle 5 is imagination. In imagination, this one part stood out. When I first heard it, I think that I might have screamed like a little 13-year-old girl on Instagram. Strange and paradoxical as it may seem, the secret is not a secret. Nature itself advertises it on the earth on which we live. The stars, the planets suspended within our view, in the elements above and around us, in every blade of grass, and every form of life within our vision. Nature advertises this secret in terms of biology, in the conversion of a tiny cell so small that it may be lost on the point of a pin into the human being hearing this line. Isn't that kind of that okay, you can say that that's not a little out there, okay? Sure, there's a little outdated information in this book. I like to think that most people listening could probably tell what exactly it is, but the marketing of personal services, still a very real thing, but a written brief?
What's a brief?
There are employers who don't even look at resumes anymore. On my last job search, before asking about an interview, people called me just to talk about my YouTube channel. And 90% of the jobs I applied for were in auto sales. One of them, by the way, I took. And I'm now making money on sales and the use of my YouTube ranking skills. Which, by the way, I learned from a course that I did not get for free. Public school. I didn't get it from public school. The course is called VRA 2.0, Video Ranking Academy, by a guy named Sean Cannell with Think Media. So things have changed. And by the way, my story here is probably not all that uncommon. I think it's because there are a lot of people who could say similar things nowadays. The section about marketing opportunities on the radio, by the way, that's a little outdated as well. You could apply that to like Anchor and podcasts, for example, but still, what the hell is a radio? I mean, I know what a radio is, but what is a radio? Like, organized planning is an action-packed chapter. Principle 6, but the most valuable part of the chapter, in my opinion, is the 30 different causes of failure. Because it's like, how many of these describe me? I'll tell you, actually, I will. Some of the 30 described me at some point, some of them never described me. The last time I checked, this was 11. This time it's 4. One of them is one or more of the 6 basic fears for sure. Overcaution, another is intemperance, and a possibility is guessing instead of thinking. There's a section of this chapter that basically formed the spine of my view on capitalism. He describes this breakfast for a family in the heart of New York City, and how much every piece of it costs by the cent. The eggs, the English muffin, the grapefruit juice, the bacon. I don't remember what it was. Think of it like an egg McMuffin or something. The capitalists are the brains of civilization because they supply the entire fabric of which all education, enlightenment, and human progress consists. Money without brains is always dangerous. Properly used, it is the most important essential of civilization. This simple breakfast here described could not have been delivered to the New York family at a dime each or at any other price if organized capital had not provided the machinery, the ships, the railroads, and the huge armies of trained men to operate them. Then he exhaustively breaks down all of the different things you would have to do, walking or swimming to states or countries ridiculously far apart from each other. It's almost funny how he explains this, to get the tea, the sugar, the eggs, the grapefruit juice, the wheat bread, the banana, and the butter and the cream. That would be the only way that all of this food could be gathered for a breakfast at the heart of New York City if capital didn't exist. The rest of the chapter is, I'll say this, it's genius in case I haven't said the whole book is genius. Principle 7 is decision. The main idea of decision is that all successful people make decisions fast and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people do the opposite. If you ask 100 different people what they want most in life, 98 of them won't be able to tell you. If you push 98 of them for an answer, you might hear something like happiness or fame or power or money or security. But none of these people will be able to define these things, and if they will, they won't be able to tell you a plan of how they will attain those wishes. Principle 8 is persistence, which is a habit. It requires a definite purpose, a definite plan, a tightly closed mind to negative influences, and an alliance with people who help encourage that to make it happen. I don't remember the last time I really persisted with something. without those things. Principle 9 is the mastermind. Here's another example of how profoundly this man looks at the accumulation of riches. There exists a great unseen stream of power which may be compared to a river, except that one side flows in one direction, carrying all those who get into that side of the stream onward and upward to wealth, and the other side flows into the opposite direction, carrying all who are unfortunate to get into it and not able to extricate themselves from it downward to misery and poverty. Every man who has accumulated a great fortune has recognized the existence of this stream of life. It consists of one's thinking process. When people think of like, oh, I'm gonna get super rich, they're not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a hold of this like stream of life and I'm just gonna jump in and I'm gonna use the oar and I'm gonna I don't know, swim upstream or whatever. But to say that there's a rigged system or something like that, when you look at it like this and a lot of other examples he gives in the book, it's almost as if the system is nature, and nature is only as rigged as you think it is, which is very empowering if you ask me. Principle 10 is the mystery of sex transmutation. This is the weirdest chapter in the book, without question, but it definitely, to me, it stands out the most. Sex transmutation? What on earth is sex transmutation? Sex transmutation, is that some sort of weird, chakra-bending, voodoo, mama juju, dark magic or something? Like, what is that? What does this have to do with money? Like, the author lists like 30 different people, like the most successful people in history, and he's like, all these people have very, very developed sex natures. I think that's the words he used. Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. Here's an idea of how powerful it is. To indulge in sex, a man will freely risk his life or his reputation. Take away sex desire and there's really no fundamental reason to have or create really like any material thing. But when he starts talking about like genii and the sixth sense and the levels of thought, that's when things start to get really, really weird. At the same time, when I say that this is like an irreplicable book, it's because of chapters like this. These are areas where most self-development books about motivation and achieving your dreams and chasing your goals and financial success, they will simply refuse to go. At the point of Principle 11, the subconscious mind, I came to a realization. This book is violently repetitive. The repetition, however, is only as violent as it is intentional. Principle 12 is the brain. Like, the secret is said so many times in this book that I was like, if people understand this, like, why would they even bother at this point, like, reading to this point? My reasoning is that there are certain parts which are just very, very fresh. Like the next chapter, the apex of the philosophy, if you will. You can't really say that, like, you didn't see it coming with the repetition thing, because there's an area in the beginning where he says, if the significance of this statement could be conveyed to every reader of this book, there would be no need for the remainder of it. So it makes sense. If you want to know what the secret is, you could just get the book. If you don't experience the book firsthand, you can look it up if you want, but it's probably not likely that just looking it up will help you really thoroughly understand it. And that might be the intention I was talking about. And by the way, like, I don't think any of this at all is a reason to like, oh yeah, he's just saying this so that people will get the book. I really don't think of it like that. I mean, this is my favorite book. I'm going to talk about it like this no matter what. Principle 13 is the sixth sense. And this actually, I think this might be the weirdest chapter. With the invisible council meeting members. This may actually be the most profound chapter I've ever heard in any audiobook, ever. This is the type of chapter that makes you question whether this is actually like a non-fiction book. This is the type of chapter that feels illegal to read or listen to. By the way, I have tried the whole thing with the council meetings myself. I've tried them with Tony Robbins, Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Grant Cardone at the table, and that also seriously skyrocketed my self-confidence. The next chapter is the 6 ghosts. The 6 basic fears, he calls them. The 6 ghosts of fear. And they're ghosts in the sense that they haunt us almost as if they physically walk the earth because of how much power and control they have over us. There's the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. I feel like ill health old age and death are all kind of like intertwined, and it's like, why would you like separate them into 3 different ones? But I digress. He goes over each one thoroughly. I wish he went further though into the loss of love of someone and of criticism. Fear of criticism is really the only one I have. But he goes over what the fears stem from. He goes over the symptoms, which are frighteningly, it's really scary how spot on they are, and what to do about them. He explains this as simply as possible. There's also, I think it's like 28 different like self-analysis test questions, which can be very serious and challenging in a way, and they force you to face parts of yourself that you probably have not faced in quite some time. There's also the 57 excuses of old man if. If you're willing to focus on what's more true now than when the book came out, to say that it's not worth the money, I would say it is simply absurd. It really is. But what did the negative reviews say, and do I agree with them? A 1-star by No Name Given basically said a main idea of the book, which is not the secret. Few of these reviews bothered mentioning the actual like secret. Maybe they missed it, I don't know. More than 50% of the book is basically just patting itself on the back for being wonderful, rather than getting to the point. Really? 50%? 50%? Really? I think more than 80% of the book is about the fact that we have the power to control our own earthly destinies by controlling our own thoughts. However, like another 1-star review said by AM Photo Guy, there's a lot of self-aggrandizing. I was always focused personally on how great the book is. I never focused on the bragging about how long it took to write, or how many people the author interviewed, even though I mentioned that a couple times in this video. Now that you mention it, I can see that. It's there, but I don't think everything else is worth discounting because of it. By any stretch of the word. And a sales pitch. What? What is this book a sales pitch for? I don't think this guy had any courses or seminars. Other reviews mention that success is all about execution. There are people, however, who, they execute their entire lives and they get absolutely nowhere. But the book doesn't, I'll admit, it doesn't really talk about execution at all. It talks about persistence and stuff, but if someone hated the book because of this, I would totally understand where they're coming from. This is the only book I can name that I truly would say hits the nail on the head as far as using your thoughts to guide and control one's life toward success in any field or calling. Other books may have given it a bad name and made it seem like thinking is all you need. This is an idiotic notion. I will say that. And I may be like the first super fan of this book to shout it from the rooftops. But my second favorite book is all about action. And a little bit about thinking, but it's all about action. I'll recommend that in just a minute. Before the shutdown, I have no idea where I found this, but there is this phenomenally in-depth article on a site called Gizmodo about how the author of this book, who so many people in the last century almost have looked at the work of for serious guidance in great achievement of every imaginable area of life, is a scam artist. A complete scam artist. It took the writer of this article 2 years of research to put it together. He seemingly went to like every corner of the earth to confirm as much as he can this idea that the author is a super scam artist. Have I read this article? No. Does it matter? My short answer is no. The thing is, this book has helped make so many people extremely rich that if this author were a terrible person, it's completely up to the reader or listener whether or not it's worth moving forward with his work. And I would say that about authors, artists, actors, and actresses, and of course musicians. If you're willing to spend 2 years putting together what I just described, you're probably guaranteed to persuade others of your viewpoint. No more than you are to confirm the reality of his work. I may have a video later on talking more about this and the article specifically, but until then, I hope I covered all in the summary that I was looking to cover. Quotes. I learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he's willing to stake his entire future on a turn of the wheel in order to get it, he's sure to win. We refuse to believe that which we do not understand. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird sleeps in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. A doctor said this one. Nothing but his own desire to live saved him. He would have never pulled through if he had not refused to accept the possibility of death. It pays to know how to purchase knowledge. All master salesmen know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. Ordinary salesmen don't. That is why they are ordinary. Most men will work more for accommodation and recognition than they will for money alone. The real employer of the future will be the public. If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self. You may see at one and the same time both your best friend and your greatest enemy by stepping in front of a mirror. As the twig is bent, so shall the tree grow. The world has a habit of making room for the man whose thoughts and actions show that he knows where he is going. One who has loved truly can never lose entirely. So subtle and deeply seated is the emotion of fear that one may go through life burdened with it, never recognizing its presence. Nothing life has to offer is worth the price of worry. Direction 1. Simply put, I recommend this book for everyone. It's the very rare book that I will recommend for absolutely everyone. Direction 2. If you like this book, you might like The Law of Success by the same author. That book was put out, I think, 2 decades earlier than this one, so expect the same, if not more so, of this like early 1900s style. For something even less modern, you might also like Compensation by Ralph Waldo Emerson for more of that like new thought type stuff. But if you're really looking for some beef, what I would recommend checking out right after this book, I know it's a world of a difference in writing style, but The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. It's my second favorite book. Super in-your-face type of thinking. I think Cardone's favorite book actually is Think and Grow Rich as well, but he is very, very quick to disregard the it's all about your thoughts, change your life philosophy. So this one's great for the proactive people who are like, okay, I get it, thoughts are above all, what next? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through those links, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos. This was like a 25-minute video and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.